name's Kenton Good, the head of digital production and preservation services at the University of Alberta Library. And today I'm speaking from the U of A campus in Edmonton, Alberta, which is on Treaty 6 land. And unfortunately, the campus doesn't actually look like this picture in January. This is probably a July version of the campus. Next slide. So just a bit about our background with web archiving at U of A libraries. We had, I think one of the earlier programs in Canada for web archiving. We started about 2009. We're an early Archivit subscriber and somehow have amassed over 42.6 terabytes of data within the Archivit program. So it's a pretty substantial collection at this point. We currently have 12 active collections, 18 inactive collections. The URLs to our collections and to our web archiving site are on the slide. Our focus has been a lot on government information, a lot on institutional websites, so the University of Alberta, a lot on news and current events. So topics like wildfires, elections, pandemics, all that kind of thing. I think a lot of people captured a lot of those. A lot of people captured a lot of those same topics. More recently, we've launched some new collections on a student life collection, capturing a lot of clubs and student-based websites at the U of A, academic staff websites, which is something we've never captured before, and open journals and OER content that originates out of the University of Alberta as well. Next slide. We've, since 2009, have had a lot of different ways we've tried to organize our web archiving activity and our workflows. I think over the years, we've had single individuals tasked with this responsibility. We've experimented with small teams, medium teams, large teams. For a while, the activity had a very collections focused. We had a brief period of time where it had even more of an IT focus. One year we had a clear fellow who we were lucky to have with us in the library, and that person was tasked with co-leading our web archiving initiatives as well. Next slide. So the solution we now have come up with is what we call at University of Alberta Library cross-functional teams. So this is a bit different than a sort of a more passive committee. A cross-functional team is a group of library colleagues that come together to basically enable an activity within the library. So it's a team, but you're actually making a commitment that you're going to do some work within that that team. In our case, we have put together a web archiving team that has 11 members, and each of those members are making a time commitment of roughly 1 to 2 hours a week as a minimum, and then attend a 1-hour meeting every month as part of our activity. Next slide. Our actual team then is divided into different roles. So team members largely have self-selected which roles they were interested in, and it kind of nicely worked. These roles aren't mutually exclusive, so we have some people who are in 2 roles, some people who are even in 3 roles. So the 4 basic roles we've come up with, there's an external collaboration role where several of us, particularly who are involved in various regional, national committees to do with preservation, to do with web archiving, try and keep our program in alignment as much as possible with what we're hearing in the larger community. There's an important collections role that's tasked with making new collections decisions and collection curation decisions. There's a production role that creates and tests the seeds, enters and creates the metadata, compiles the seed lists, and also looks at how do we actually preserve all these works and files we're creating as part of our program. And a new role we've launched recently is a communications and outreach role. We had sort of determined that maybe that was not an area within our program where we did a good enough job promoting what we're doing with web archiving. So now we have team members who are active with promoting our services and its uses throughout the university community here. Next slide. The collection role I mentioned, I just wanted to dive a bit deeper into that. So one of the concepts we have is this idea of collection curators who are responsible for our collections. One of the things we wanted is for each collection to have a dedicated curator, so there's no ambiguity at all about who's actually tasked with curating that collection. You can be responsible for more than one collection, but what you're working on are really sort of facilitating the workflow between when the request comes in, whoever the requester is, and then the production group that then creates the seeds, does the QA work, and gets the web archive or the web content archived within Archive.it. Collection curators will take a look at their collections at least once or twice a year to make sure they're still sort of fit for purpose. Are they still doing what we thought they were? Are they still needed? What we're trying to avoid here is the concept of zombie collections, which just sometimes happen throughout the years, right? Where a collection just kind of runs and eats through your data budget and you're not really paying attention to what's going on. Next slide. So our actual web archiving workflow looks something like this. So we have a shared mailbox, which all committee members have access to. And within our website and within our various communication channels, we try and encourage all interaction, all traffic to come through that inbox. So typically requests will come into this inbox, could be from a member of general public, it could be from a library staff member, it could even be from another team member. The team member then triages that email, and then there's kind of two streams. One stream is if it's a request, for example, of a new seed that nicely already fits within a collection scope. So I mentioned we have a student life collection. So if someone found, for example, a student club that we had not captured their website, that would sort of fall into the bottom stream where that would be automatically just approved. The production team would pick that up, add the seed, do the QA work, and then report back to the requester that it was complete. If it's a website that doesn't fit within an existing collection, then that kicks off a different process. So that would be tagged for review. We need to determine if it's even possible to crawl the website, and it's getting increasingly harder, it seems like, to crawl websites with Cloudflare errors and weird JavaScript things and other things happening. And also review whether that might require a different collection. Like if it doesn't fit within any of our existing collections, do we then look at that? So typically then our team would review those requests. If it's not possible to crawl, if it's out of scope, we'll of course let the requester know and reject the request. If it is something that we want to take on, we'll typically add it to our next team meeting if it's not super urgent, and make a decision whether it needs to be a new collection, and if so, what does that mean? Who would be the collection curator? And sort of that would kick off a series of decisions at that point. Next slide. So in terms of some of our collection management practices, in terms of creating new collections, as I said, the decision to create a new collection would be collectively done within our web archiving team meeting, either in the meeting or by email if it's something a bit more urgent and time sensitive. One of the things we've really worked on the last year is improving the consistency around our metadata practice. So collectively, the team has worked on a metadata guidelines that was led by our metadata librarian, John Huck. And I'll get more into that in a second. So we attempt to apply consistent metadata throughout our collections. And once the collection is created, QA'd, metadata has been applied, we then do try and loop it into our outreach part of our committee as well. And that might result in a blog post, it might result in an Instagram post, a social media post, that kind of thing. One of the things we're working on right now is to get a a section in the all staff on campus newsletter that comes out every Thursday, which would be an amazing accomplishment if we could pull that off. But we want to like be able to promote a collection and our service within that particular channel. Next slide. I mentioned the metadata guidelines. So what we did is we took the OCLC recommendations for web archiving metadata, which was published in 2018, and we created our own guide, our own version of it based on that. So you'll see on the right-hand side, there's the rule is dictated in that larger guide, and then we have a local practice section. It's no ambiguity at all. It's very clear about how each metadata field should be applied within the Archive It application. Next slide. And finally, I just wanted to mention one of the things we've done in the last little while is we decided to see how something like GitHub might work within our environment. We've had lots of luck using GitHub for doing some of our back-end digital production, digitization, workflow tracking. So we decided we would also try it with our web archiving work. It's a convenient tool in that it has built-in issues management. It's all integrated with email. It's all very transparent, so everyone can see what we're doing. That way, we create a complete paper trail of documentation of every decision, every action that we're doing. So this is something we're just starting with, but so far it's been very successful for what we're doing here. Next slide. And I think that was it. I only had a few minutes. So a few emails here. Feel free to reach out to me after if you have any follow-up questions. And the bottom email is our general web archiving email account that we use in the library. You're also welcome to email that as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank the organizing committee for allowing me to present my lightning talk on web archiving workflows at libraries and cultural resources here at the University of Calgary. As mentioned, my name is Delaney Sweep, and I'm the digital preservation technician for the university. I would also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the peoples of Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation within Alberta, including Nose Hill Métis District 5 and Elbow Métis District 6. So I won't read it out loud, but this slide lists our web archiving content policy. As you can see, the University of Calgary uses Archive It, the subscription-based web archiving service from the Internet Archive, to collect web-based content that is connected to the university. The ultimate goal of our web archiving service is to preserve the research, teaching, learning, and cultural websites created by UCalgary faculty, staff, and students. Therefore, this policy, particularly the first point outlining the scope of our archive, guides the web archiving workflows that I will be sharing today. Beyond our content policy, we do also have a withdrawal policy if there are concerns regarding copyright or a violation of the content policy. But that policy is really outside the scope of the workflows I will be covering today. But if you are interested in reading it, it is available for you online. So this diagram outlines our currently implemented web archiving workflows. It is divided into two main sections, one for new seeds that have been requested and one for our ongoing scheduled crawls. I will be going over both workflows, starting with our request workflow for new websites. So before beginning the workflow, our web archiving process would start with an individual filling out our online web archive request form. In this form, the requester outlines what website they want crawled, provides a description of the site, what type of website it is, following the scope of our content policy, any keywords that can be added to the site as metadata on Archive It, and if they want the website to be a recurring crawl, and if so, at what frequency. If the website is complicated or if a requester has questions or concerns, they can also email me at digital.preservation@ucalgary.ca for a more detailed discussion about their specific needs and requirements. Um, so once we have received a request, we can now begin our request workflow. So going back to the diagram, the section outlined in red is the request workflow. It begins with me receiving the request and doing the pre-crawl preparation. So this includes tasks like checking the website to see if it complies with the content policy, contacting the requester to clarify any questions not answered by the form that they filled in, as well as I'll also be setting up the seed and archive it, outlining the scoping rules and doing kind of the back end preparation in archive it. So once all this is done, I will then launch a test crawl in archive it. And then after that crawl has stopped running, I do an initial quality assurance check using Wayback to see if I notice any content that is missing or if there are any obvious issues with the crawl, adjusting the scoping rules if required. And then after my QA, I then send that test crawl back to the site owner or requester using the Wayback link, asking that they review the crawl and fill out a QA form we have created, noting any issues or concerns that they see. We do this because as the site owner and our requester, they are most likely to be more familiar with the website and the specific features that are essential to be captured than I am. If the site owners identify problems, I will attempt to patch the crawl by adjusting the scope or doing recrawls, repeating this process until the problem is either fixed or until it becomes apparent that the issue is possibly like a limitation of the crawling technology. And ultimately, I'll update the site owner of the end results, whether it was able to be fixed or if it's a limitation. If there are no problems found, or if the problems that are found cannot be fixed after going through the cycles of QA and patching, the site will then be saved and published to our public-facing archive it site. So then the other half of the diagram is the workflow for our ongoing or scheduled crawls. This is essentially a quality assurance workflow as it is primarily just checking the new crawls for the website seeds that have already been set up and previously captured to ensure that any changes to the root URL or new issues are caught and corrected. So since these website seeds have been previously set up and archive it, this workflow starts with actually the platform running the scheduled crawl at the set date. So it kind of takes out that pre-crawl preparation because the seed's already been set up. So once done, once Archive It has finished doing the crawl, we enter a phase of QA and patching slash recrawling. I begin with doing the same kind of standard QA check from the last workflow. So this includes like reviewing the crawl report, opening the Wayback link, navigating through the captured site, and noting down any issues or problems that I see. If no problems are noted, there's really no further action is required of me at this stage. So then it just goes straight to kind of being available on our Archive It site. But if there are problems with the capture, I will investigate further. So I will look to see if the problem is a change in the root URL. Was the website down at the time of the scheduled crawl? Does the scoping rules need to be changed? Or does the crawl timeline or data limits need to be expanded within Archive It to properly capture the site? So depending on the results of my investigation, I will either restart the crawl or run a new test, repeating these QA checks once Archive It has finished processing the new crawls or the new recrawls. Like the last workflow, this process will continue until the problem is either fixed or until it becomes apparent that the issue cannot be fixed. So that's basically when I run out of tips and tricks to try. And that usually indicates to me that it's probably an issue with the crawling technology not being able to capture like dynamic content or things like that. But once all of this is done, any successful new test crawls will be saved, and the future crawls will be run using those new scoping rules or parameters that I have discovered and outlined then in Archive It repository website for that seed. So those were basically our two web archiving workflows. And please let me know if you have any questions or if you need me to clarify any of the steps. But thank you so much. I also included my email there as well as my phone number should you have any questions after this event. Feel free to reach out at any time.